Welcome to the Glamping Americas Podcast, the go-to show for dreamers, doers and disruptors in the glamping and experiential hospitality space. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, this is where we talk about what really moves the needle, insights, stories and strategies to help you build a business that really thrives. Now let me ask you something. What if there were 7 unspoken rules that could save you time, money and sleepless nights? 7 guiding principles that seasoned glamping owners live by, whether they realize it or not. Today, I'm sharing these 7 rules with you along with personal stories that taught me the hard way why these rules actually matter. So grab your coffee, sit back and let's dive in. Welcome to the Glamping Americas Podcast, the place for inspiration about the business of upscale camping, glamping and luxury outdoor guest accommodations. I'm Sarah Riley from the Glamping Academy and I'm working with my friends at the Glamping Show Americas to share everything you need to know about new trends, events, business models and investment potential in the rapidly growing world of luxury camping that delivers an experience. Interest in this industry is exploding, so if you want to be the first to find out what's hot and what's not, subscribe here and check out the show notes for more exciting news and links. And be sure to add the next Glamping Show Americas to your calendar for the 30th of September to the 1st of October 2025 near Denver, Colorado. I can't wait. Rule 1 is the costly lesson of a handshake agreement. Let me take you back to a conversation I had with a glamping owner. Let's call him Alex. Alex had just secured a beautiful piece of land, a dream location nestled in nature. They found a local supplier who promised top-tier safari tents at mates rates. No contract, just friendly handshake and a verbal agreement with a discount to secure the purchase. Trust me, he said, we've done this hundreds of times. Alex felt he knew him so well it would almost be disrespectful to ask for a signature on a piece of paper. But fast forward 6 months and those safari tents, yes, delayed with price hikes and unexpected fees because of unexpected import-export duties and other hidden costs because of the times we're living in. And because nothing was in writing, Alex had no legal footing. That mistake, it cost him tens of thousands and nearly delayed their entire business launch for 2 full years. Let's talk about why it's so important to be cautious of handshake agreements, even when you're dealing with someone you deeply respect or trust. A friend, partner, or someone you've been in business with for a while, or even a family member, well, it can feel natural, especially when you're on great terms with that business partner, to rely on a verbal agreement or handshake to seal the deal. But while this might seem like a gesture of goodwill or a sign of trust, it can actually leave you really vulnerable to misunderstandings or legal disputes down the road. So a handshake agreement relies heavily on mutual trust and good faith. But human memory and perception are absolutely fallible. Even with the best of intentions, people often remember details differently over time. This can lead to confusion, disagreements, or disputes about what's actually been agreed upon. When money, responsibilities, or deadlines are on the line, even the smallest misunderstanding can have a serious consequence. The problem with handshake agreements are that while verbal agreements can be legally enforceable in some cases, they are much harder to prove if things go wrong. Without a written record, it often becomes one person's word against another's, making any disagreements harder to resolve. In business, it's not uncommon for circumstances to change. Perhaps one party's priorities shift, or external factors create unforeseen challenges, like the recent pandemic and export-import duties changing so much. Without a clear documented agreement, it becomes difficult to protect your interests, even if the deal doesn't go as planned. So an email agreement is absolutely the minimum. It's the very least you should aim for. So while it may not be a full formal contract, an email exchange that lays out the terms of your agreement can serve as a written record of the understanding between the parties. Emails can provide a level of legal enforceability, and they make it easier for reference or for clarity and other terms later on. For example, imagine you've agreed with a business partner on the scope of a project, the deadlines and payment terms over a handshake. Later, you find out that they've remembered the scope or the payment structure differently. Having a written summary of all of this in an email can really help clear up any miscommunication and provide clarity on the responsibilities each party has agreed to. But that said, I still think that formal contracts are key, even between family and friends. Email agreements are still a minimum safeguard, but a formal signed contract is always the most reliable protection for both parties. Contracts provide legal certainty and reduce ambiguity as they outline the rights of each party. If there's ever a dispute, a written contract will carry much more weight in court than a handshake or even an email. Contracts also serve as a safeguard against the future and any disputes that might arise because of a change in circumstances. They force you to think through the important details like what happens if either party wants to back out, or if things don't go according to plan. It gives both parties the peace of mind that their interests are protected even if the relationship changes over time, and let's hope that doesn't happen. So be wary of handshake agreements. That's rule 1. No matter how much you respect or trust the person you're doing business with, it's crucial to get the terms of any deal in writing. An email agreement is better than nothing, but a formal contract is the best way to protect yourself and ensure that both parties are clear on what they need to do next. In business, protecting relationships means protecting expectations, and there's no better way to do it than by getting everything tied down in writing. No matter how friendly, no matter how small, it's not a deal until it's in writing. Contracts aren't just about distrust, they're about clarity. They're about remembering what's been agreed, and speaking from first-hand experience, always document your agreements. Always. So rule number 2 is that business is just like a game of football. Oh no, you call it soccer, don't you? Okay, let's start again. Business is like a game of soccer. You win some and you lose some. So running a glamping business isn't a straight path to success. It's more like a soccer match. Sometimes you make the perfect play, maybe it's a marketing campaign, your bookings flood in, and you feel on top of the world, just like you've scored the most amazing goal. Other times you get unexpected penalties, even when you feel you don't deserve it. Maybe there's weather issues or supplier failure, a negative guest review out of the blue, and that really stings. And sometimes you get instantly tackled to the ground and fall flat on your face in the mud. But here's the thing, the best players don't walk off the field. They keep playing. They keep adjusting and finding new ways to score. They find new strategies. They take great advice from their coach or their fellow players, and they work on upskilling and making the most of their natural talents. They don't cry and throw a hissy fit. They don't say, I can't take this anymore. And if they're in a big game, when they finally taste a loss, they certainly don't say, that's it, I give up. I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't take it. No, they don't. They pick themselves up, they get back in the game, and they keep playing. So my rule number 2 is that business is just like a game of soccer. You will face setbacks, but the magic happens when you get back up, you learn, and you keep moving forward. Rule number 3 is the 80-20 rule. And this is what really moves the needle. So have you ever felt like you've been working 60 hours a week and still spinning your wheels? That's probably because you're not realizing that all tasks are not created equally. So this is something that I got wrong for a very long time. I had a to-do list. It had to be finished. I was pushing myself to get the work done. I was burning myself out. But the 80-20 rule says that 80% of your results will come from just 20% of your efforts. That means that 80% of your revenue is likely to come from 20% of your guests. 80% of your headaches come from 20% of your issues. So focus on the things that move the needle. So your best marketing channels, your top performing accommodation, and your most loyal guests. Take bookings, for example. If you analyze your guest data, you might find that the majority of your high-value bookings come from repeat guests or referrals, not from broad social media ads. Instead of spending time and money chasing brand new customers on lots of different platforms, what if you nurtured those repeat guests with loyalty perks or referral discounts? Similarly, when it comes to daily operations, instead of personally handling every email inquiry, consider automating some of it. We are living in the age of AI after all. You could automate some of your booking responses, or you could outsource certain tasks, freeing you up on focusing on high impact areas like guest experience and business growth. The key here is working smarter, not harder. And that's what the 80-20 rule is all about. So simplify, prioritize, and double down on what truly matters, what's been proven to matter for your business and yours alone, because we're all different. So rule number 4 is the law of 12 and why connection matters. So let's talk about a principle in marketing often referred to as the law of 12. The idea behind this is pretty straightforward, but incredibly important to understand. So for every 12 people you ask to take action, whether it's buying your product, signing up for your newsletter, or booking a service, only one of them is likely to actually follow through. So that's 1 in 12 as a conversion rate, which can sound pretty discouraging at first. But actually, it's a reality that business owners need to embrace. So why does the law of 12 matter? Well, understanding this law can shift how you approach your marketing efforts. So too often, businesses or marketeers expect a much higher response rate, and then they're disappointed when only a small fraction of people take action. This is particularly relevant for those smaller businesses who are being run by a family, a handful of people, and they're not particularly marketing minded. So they think they failed. They think their campaign wasn't any good, or worse, they think that people don't like what they have to offer. But the law of 12 is what's going on here. It helps to set realistic expectations to understand that marketing is a game of numbers, and success comes from persistence and consistency. In fact, the most popular thing I share when I'm talking to members of my Glamping Club is that business is just a constant run of experiments. We try something out, we assess if it worked, and if it didn't, we go back to the drawing board. Not everyone is going to buy your product, sign up for your service, or engage with your content the first time they come across it. People are busy, they're distracted, or they're just simply not ready to commit in that moment. The law of 12 reminds us that it usually takes multiple tasks and exposure before you get the desired action you're after, which is your customer buying your service. So this means the power of repetition is important. The law of 12 ties into the rule of 7 in advertising. Yes, there's so many things. Rule of 12, rule of 7. Oh my goodness, my brain is going to explode. But this is a thing based on research, and it's based on a lot of marketing professionals doing a lot of marketing over a lot of years. So it suggests that a potential customer needs to see or hear your marketing message at least 7 times before they take action. Let's call this a bonus rule to go with the law of 12. So both these concepts reinforce each other. The more people you reach and the more regularly you reach them, the more likely you're going to turn those people into customers over time. So in marketing, you need to be patient and persistent. You can't just ask once and expect results. You need to build a relationship. You need to create multiple touch points and continually offer value until the person feels ready to make a move. So if 1 out of 12 people take action, the goal is to increase the number of people you're reaching and increase the number of touch points for each individual. So how do you use the law of 12 in your marketing? So now you know that only 1 in 12 people might actually act on your offer. How can you really work with that ratio to improve your bookings? Well, you may want to increase your reach. If you're only marketing to a small audience, for example, the law of 12 means you're only going to get a handful of conversions. The more people you can expose to your message, the more opportunities you create for bookings. This is why scaling your marketing efforts, whether that's through social media, email marketing, or paid advertising, is essential. You're getting more eyes on your stuff. You want to refine your message as well as much as possible so that every touch point with your audience really matters. The law of 12 doesn't mean just throwing your offer out there and hoping for the best. Each ask needs to be crafted really carefully. So ensure your messaging speaks to the needs and the pain points of your potential customer and offers a clear call to action that's easy to follow through. Then think about how you're going to nurture your leads over time. So remember that people may need to see your offer multiple times before acting. And if you can build a nurturing campaign, whether that's through a series of emails, targeted ads, or consistent social content, you're keeping your message top of mind. By the time that person is ready to make a decision, your brand will already have established credibility, trust, and familiarity with them, which will attract a higher rate of bookings. And don't take it personally. The law of 12 can feel discouraging if you focus on the no's, but marketing is a long game. For every person who does not respond, someone else eventually will. It's important to keep that perspective and not let the majority of rejections keep you from continuing to reach out. Remember the game of football. Soccer. So in summary, Rule 4 is all about focusing on the law of 12. So this is a reminder that most people won't take action the first time you ask, and that is okay. Don't take it personally. The key is to keep reaching out, to keep refining your approach, expanding your offer, expanding your audience, and being visible. If only 1 out of every 12 people say yes, then your job is to ask the same thing of more people and to ask often enough to see the results you're aiming for. It's about persistence, patience, and knowing that even the best business marketing efforts face a numbers game. And Rule 5, this is something out of your children's fairy tales, the Goldilocks law. This is all about giving 3 choices and then one will be the perfect fit. So have you ever been in a coffee shop where they only have one size of coffee? This means you either buy it or you don't. No, I didn't think you did. But when they give you an offer of 3, small, medium, and large, most people naturally gravitate towards the middle option. I know I do. That's the Goldilocks law. And most chain coffee shops use this law. This is a fascinating principle in marketing psychology known as the Goldilocks law of making offers. This concept takes inspiration from the classic Goldilocks story, where one option is too hot, one is too cold, and one is just right. In marketing terms, this idea is applied to pricing, where businesses typically present 3 different options: a cheaper entry-level offer, a medium or just right offer, and a more expensive premium offer. When presented with a choice, consumers often view the cheapest option as perhaps lacking quality or features, while the most expensive one might feel extravagant or out of reach for their budget. That middle option, however, feels like the best value. It's not too basic, but it's also not too expensive and too frivolous. It's just right, offering a balance of cost and features. So why does this work so well? The psychology behind it is tied into the way we make decisions. When given multiple options, most people will avoid the extremes. The cheapest option often feels like they're sacrificing something important like quality or a level of service. The most expensive option, on the other hand, can feel like an unnecessary splurge. That's a great word, isn't it? Splurge. The medium option seems like a safe and reasonable choice. This effect is sometimes called the compromise effect. Essentially, consumers believe that by choosing the middle option, they're making a practical yet balanced decision. It doesn't matter if the cheaper option is adequate or if the premium offer is actually a better deal in terms of features, the middle option just somehow feels like the smarter pick. So how to apply this in your marketing? Well, you can use this law to help you boost your bookings throughout the year. So think about creating a tiered pricing structure. You can offer 3 distinct pricing tiers that work particularly well when your customers might be looking for customizable experiences. So for example, you might offer a budget stay with just the accommodation and a standard stay, which includes breakfast and the use of a hot tub, and a luxury suite that includes breakfast, evening meals, use of a hot tub, use of a sauna, dancing cherubs and laughing hyenas. The standard stay, or the medium-priced options, will likely see the highest demand simply because it strikes that just right balance. So positioning the middle option as the best value is key. Highlighting the benefits of the middle option to make it even more appealing is also key. You can point out that it offers the most value for money, or that it includes all the features guests commonly want without being overly indulgent or silly in my case. Anyway, the other key is to remember that the middle option is the one that you actually want people to choose. And having the 2 offers either side will really help people to make that decision. So while the premium offer may not attract the majority of your customers, having it on the table does make the middle offer seem more affordable in comparison. In fact, the mere presence of a higher end option can make people feel more comfortable choosing the middle tier option, even if that middle tier option might seem expensive in isolation. So interestingly, some businesses even introduced a very expensive decoy option just to nudge people towards the middle. This tactic purely plays on the psychology of comparison while subtly guiding customers to the offer you want them to choose. So okay, we can pack away the laughing hyenas now. So in summary, Rule 5 is using the Goldilocks law in your offer because people like choices, but not too many. There is a sweet spot. Remember that the confused mind always says no. So this Goldilocks law of making 3 offers is a powerful marketing tool. And by presenting your audience with 3 options, a cheaper one, a medium one, and an expensive one, you can strategically drive most people towards the middle. This is because that middle option feels safe, reasonable, and like the best value for their money. So next time you're thinking about pricing your products or services, think about this approach to increase conversions and boost customer satisfaction. And if you're not convinced, what you can do is you can trial something in your campsite shop. So if you have an honesty shop, or if you have somewhere where people can buy things from you, additional products to enhance their holiday, try it, see what happens, and see which option your customers so often pick. Rule 6 is always do your due diligence because regret is expensive. So due diligence isn't the sexy part of a business, but it's definitely the difference between thriving and failing. So you might be hearing people in your network saying, I've done my due diligence, but what exactly does that mean? Essentially, there's lots of elements, but there are 3 things you should always research before making your big decisions. So of course, there's the legal checks. Don't skip this one, for goodness sake. So this is the land use permissions, licensing, zoning. Never assume, always verify. It's key to have the paperwork in place. Then there's maybe supplier vetting. So read reviews, ask for references, and get everything in writing. Get supplier contracts in place. And then there's guest preferences. Listening to what your ideal guest actually wants and not just what you think they want. So whether you're setting up a new venture or trying an existing business out or even partnering with another company, due diligence is an essential step to ensure you're making informed decisions and you are minimizing risks. So what is due diligence? At its core, it's a comprehensive process of investigation and review. It's all about fact-checking and verifying. You get the details of a business and you have to make sure that everything is as it seems. You wouldn't buy a house without inspecting it first, right? Well, the same logic applies to a business. You need to understand the financial health, the operations, the legal standing, and potential risks involved before you commit to anything. So it's really important because due diligence helps you avoid those costly mistakes and unpleasant surprises. I've lost count of the amount of times people haven't done this and they've come a cropper. In business, things can sometimes look great on the surface and you get excited and get drawn into a deal. But actually, a deeper dive might reveal hidden issues like hidden debts, legal liabilities, or operational inefficiencies. That could derail your plans completely. By taking the time to conduct a thorough review, you'll be in a much better position to negotiate terms, to assess the value of the business you're trying to buy, for example, and ensure long-term success. So skipping or rushing through this process really can lead to bad deals and to overpaying for something or getting involved in a business that has big problems. So protect your investment, whether it's money, time, or your reputation. It will all help you move forward with confidence if you do proper due diligence. So there's a few key steps in the process, and one of those is financial. So it involves a deep dive into the company's financial health. You'll want to review some key documents like balance sheets, profit and loss, tax returns, cash flow statements, all that kind of stuff. And in fact, you should get an accountant to have a look at it for you because they'll be able to raise any red flags or any inconsistencies that you won't be able to see. So it's super important, as is getting the legal due diligence done. So to uncover any potential risks or liabilities or anything else going on under the surface. You'll also want to verify who actually owns the assets. Are there any intellectual properties involved? And review all the existing contracts with suppliers, employees and partners and everything else, because sometimes, let's say most times, there are hidden complications. Another due diligence action is to think about that business on an operational standing. So how is it run on a day-to-day basis? How are you going to take it over? What ongoing support will you have when you take it over? So reviewing those key processes, the supply chains, the employee structure, the technology involved, and how you might be able to upgrade it. These are really important operational considerations. And then there's the commercial side of things. So this helps you understand commercially what's happening, so where the competitors are, what the landscape looks like, what's happening in the marketplace, whether things are going up and down in terms of supply and demand. It's a really important thing to understand when you're about to take over a business. How about the reputation and cultural fit? So while often overlooked, it's really important to understand the reputation of a business within the industry and amongst customers. So of course you can change how a business is run and improve it and improve the reviews and everything else. But if the brand has already received negative reviews in the past, you're going to be struggling uphill to change that. So think about, does the culture of the business you're taking over and its values, do they align with yours? Do they have a good reputation? Is there a cultural mismatch? Are there any hurdles for future growth? And how are you going to overcome any negativities that currently exist? So final step of a due diligence process is to think about tax and compliance. So is the business up to date with its tax? How about any other obligations? Is it facing any potential penalties or audits? And think about what's happening there in terms of how it's been operated in the past. Although this might seem quite overwhelming and difficult, think of due diligence as your insurance policy. It's a structured way to uncover risks and ensure that what's being presented to you is actually accurate. And if you find problems or inconsistencies during this process, you can either renegotiate your terms or request further guarantees, or, and often this should happen, simply walk away from the deal. It's not worth it. But in some cases, due diligence may actually reveal hidden opportunities as well, so it's not always bad. Perhaps there's an underutilized asset or a potential market that it hasn't tapped into yet. So you will only understand this if you do your process. And what I always say is do not make assumptions. Do not assume. We know what happens when we assume. It makes an ass out of you and me. And I know all you parents out there are laughing at that. Okay, rule number 6, in summary, always do your due diligence. It's not just a tiresome box to tick, it's vital. It can make or break your business and your future. Really, please do it. It's so essential and important. You may be able to uncover some nasty news, but you may be able to uncover some opportunities. So don't skip that process. Finally, rule 7, stepping out of your comfort zone. It's necessary for your business to work. So get used to the fact that you might feel a bit uncomfortable as you move through this process. So why is it so crucial to step out of your comfort zone? Not just for personal growth, but for business success as well. Well, it's easy to stick with what's familiar. Your comfort zone is a place where you feel safe, where you're not taking any risks, and where you know what to expect. But here's the thing. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. Whether we're talking about personal development or business, the real opportunities, the ones that challenge you, push you to your limits and unlock your potential, they lie just outside that bubble of safety. So why is it important to step out of that bubble of safety and outside of your comfort zone? Well, this is because you're forcing yourself to adapt, think differently, learn new skills. This might be taking on a new project, learning something that initially feels intimidating, or entering a space where you're not the expert and you're not the most intelligent person in the room. It's uncomfortable for sure, but that discomfort is where the magic happens. This is where you grow, and it's where innovation and breakthroughs occur. So in business, staying in your comfort zone can mean playing it safe and not taking necessary risks to scale or innovate, or even to leave an industry just in time before it fails. Many successful entrepreneurs will tell you that their biggest wins came from moments when they took bold actions or made uncomfortable decisions. Whether it's launching a new product, investing in a different market, or taking on a leadership role, these kinds of challenges can be catalysts for major growth. And in your personal life, stepping outside your comfort zone might mean tackling fears or insecurities. So speaking in public, for example, or learning a new language, or even starting that side hustle you've been thinking about for years. It can lead to discovering new passions or talents you didn't even know you had. So why does growth happen here? Well, it's because this is where you're challenged to expand your capabilities. New experiences force you to adapt. It actually rewires your brain. When you try something unfamiliar, you have to confront fear, uncertainty, and self-doubt. But every time you succeed in these situations, you build confidence and resilience, and you broaden your skill set. Plus, stepping outside of your comfort zone encourages creativity and problem solving. So when you're not relying on the same old methods or approaches, you start to see new possibilities and solutions you may not have considered before. So how do you start stepping outside of your comfort zone? Well, it's going to be uncomfortable. So my advice is start small. You don't have to make massive changes right away. It could just be as simple as networking with new people, speaking up, or trying out a few new tools or a strategy in your business. Small steps can lead to big changes over time, believe me. You might also want to embrace failure. So it's either success or a learning opportunity. One of the reasons we avoid stepping outside of our comfort zone is the fear of failure, but failure is often our best teacher. It shows us what works and what doesn't, and it gives us the chance to improve and come back stronger. And while we do all of that, it's wise to set some stretch goals. So these are targets that are just outside of our existing capabilities, but still achievable. They push us to grow without feeling overwhelmed. Whether personal or business related, having stretch goals keeps us constantly evolving. So rule number 7 for being great in business is about stepping out of our comfort zone. So while it's tempting to stay where things are comfortable, the real growth happens just beyond the boundaries of your comfort zone. So whether you're looking to develop personally or drive your business to new heights, it's essential. In these challenging moments, you discover what you're truly capable of and where you'll find the most opportunities for growth and success in the future. So next time you're feeling hesitant about trying something new, remind yourself that discomfort is often the first sign of potential growth. Here's just a few final thoughts of the rule that stuck with me the most. So remember Alex from earlier, that handshake deal that taught them a costly lesson, but they bounced back. They went on to build a thriving glamping retreat, and today they swear by these 7 rules. And now, so can you. So which of these rules resonate with you most? For me, it's currently the comfort zone one, as I recently stepped out of mine and the rewards have been tenfold. So let me know what they've been for you. Maybe which ones you've been following, but you didn't even know you've been following. Maybe it's given you a eureka moment or a light bulb moment. I want to hear about it. So get in touch and let me know. You'll find all the links and emails in the show notes, as we do with every single episode. Also let me know if you've got any other rules for business that you would recommend instead. Let me know and drop a review into your listening platform about the podcast, because I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, keep dreaming, keep building, and welcoming guests into experiences they'll never forget. You're doing amazingly, my friend. See you in the next episode.